All right, another Saturday, another episode. Today I'm going to try and focus on the missing pieces to actually let me go down the road legally. Obviously the headlights, I still don't have brackets yet, so I'll probably wheel over to Lesko later this week and pick those up. Get the signal lights wired in. I got one of these new signal stat deals. We'll wire that in there, and a new relay. We'll get power to the front and the back lights. Picked up some other new goodies. We're gonna go with LEDs for the tail lights. I'm gonna get those new junction boxes put in. Some nice loom. So we got some new parts to put on there, and we'll just keep plucking away at her. You know, it's funny, the more I walk around this truck, there's always something that you can put on. I mean, even this morning I'm looking at the that shiny new tank I put on there, and I realized I've got some nice new trim, so maybe we'll mount that on the sleeper or in the bunk there in the cab. But yeah, we'll just keep on picking away at her, little by little. And in the words of my favorite YouTuber from the Peace Country, old Zip Ties and Bias Plies, we'll get her just mint and roll her on down the road. So thinking about this a little further, since I'm getting rid of these old rusty fenders, I've got well, new to me fiberglass ones. So I'm going to zip cut all these huck bolts off and then put the fenders on and just bolt them on there. But the new fenders don't have clearance side lights or obviously signal lights. They're up on, I mounted them up on the mirror there. So all I'm really going to need here is the 3 wires on each side and the ground for the headlights. So that's going to be a much simpler wiring harness. So I guess I'll get started on building that, and we'll just we just won't need all these extra wires, so that'll make it a little easier. So I got that new signal stat all mounted on there, and now I'm just connecting the wires. It's interesting, the one I removed had real beefy wires, probably original or back in the 80s, and now they've gone to a thinner gauge, even though it's the exact same company and same model number. So in the never-ending quest for corporate profits, I guess they make the wires thinner. So one thing I'm trying, I was going to solder all these and do it kind of the old school way, but the previous owner, when I went out and visited him, he gave me a bunch of these guys, and these are pretty slick actually. They're kind of like solder and what do you call that, shrink wrap in one. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. I'm just trying to connect the wires together here. I'm not just trying to get a connection in the middle, and then what you do is you use a heat gun. I'm not sure if I twist this I'm going to be able to get this over. Yeah, we'll try. There, so you cut the little solder ring, I don't know if you can see it there, yeah, and right where the connection's made, and you just use a heat gun, and it actually melts the solder. There's even flux in there, and then it does a shrink wrap deal as well. So it's a quick way to connect wires together. I'm really liking these. He was just raving about them. That's why he gave me a handful from his from the collection that he had there. But I have to say, they are pretty slick. So you can see it shrinks down, and then the solder in the middle actually starts shrinking around the 2 wires. And I know there's probably a bunch of people out there that are going to say, oh, you're not doing it right, you got to use lower heat or something like that. But you know, after they cool, like the one that I did here, I mean, they seem real solid. And I'm gonna tape this whole thing up, or I'll probably put loom around it, like up here, and you won't even know they're in there. So there you go, quick and slick. Okay, so I'm just trying to mark out these wires, cut the old ones off, and terminate the new ones. So now I'm going to head to the back here and start working on this mess. So we'll open up this JB And so this is the wire that's coming from the junction box I just did. So I'll put new ends on there, and then we'll try and clean up all this nonsense. Fun, fun. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little test here. Just pull out the hazards. I don't have the flasher in because it says you're not supposed to. I had it in for a while there. And on the instructions it says, of course we read the instructions after, it says remove flasher during wiring, number 2. Now hopefully I didn't burn anything out, but it does send power to the back of the truck. So I hooked up, I soldered all the connections, all these little rings on there, and screwed them on there, and then I just hooked up the temporary wires here. I just wanted to see if I could see some lights. Now I've got they're pretty well marked out here, and the colors on this cable actually match. That was pretty slick. So I put the ground on there, and then just to see if I have power back here on, I guess it would be the left turn signal. One left turn. Let's see, we've got light there. And on same on the right turn, and then I think the brown would be the tail lights. So there is power to here, and I wanted to see if I could get some lights at the back of the truck. And lo and behold, look at those, just corroded right off of there. I mean, that's not that surprising, I guess. So time to spend some more money. We'll get some new 4 new lights. We'll get new rings. I'll get new connectors, and run fresh wires from. Get rid of all this junk. Run fresh wires from the lights up to the junction box here, and I think we should be in business. So one step closer. So one night I was playing around on Amazon, and I found these neat keep on trucking stickers. So I couldn't resist, so I ordered those, and I think I'm going to put them on the visor on both sides. One there and then one over there. Thought that would look pretty cool. Well, there you go. Little keep on trucking 70s flair to the old girl. Alright, now I better get back to work. Alright, so now I see why I left the electrical till the end. So I had this thing wired up the way it came off on the junction box, and I marked them all out and I loaded them up properly, and I was getting negative voltage everywhere. So I decided to pop them all off of there and then ring these out one at a time and try and figure out what goes where. So now I've actually got positive volts, so that's a good sign. And then I thought, well, let's just give it a try with one of the new LEDs. So negative, I think black is tail lights. So there we got tail lights, and then there's our signal light or our stop light. So I'm gonna figure this out little by little, but it's a pain. And what else was interesting was all of these wires were just taped up and capped off, and I've actually got power to a few of them as well. Unfortunately, they don't have the nice Peterbilt numbers that was showing in a previous episode, so I don't really know where they go. I'm just gonna have to try and figure it out one by one. This was obviously a new harness that they put in somewhere along the way, but it appears that all the lights were wired backwards, or at least negative, which of course LEDs won't work on. So we're getting her straight little by little. Okay, digging a little deeper. Now I'm trying to find which from the wires from the back there, working my way forward. I'm going off of my trusty wiring harness. I'm trying to find this guy here with these numbers on it, because that runs my my tail lights. So it looks like it's a 610, and I'm just trying to read the different numbers off of here, because what I'm going to do is work my way back. So make sure that I'm getting all the proper signals from the signal stat to here, and then I'll know which one is which, because I can ring them all out, because I'm really struggling here. This is becoming a bigger project than I thought it was going to be. So here's a beauty by Peterbilt. They used a huck bolt to, they obviously did it at the factory, but it's a press fit bolt, so you can't turn it. And this is a grounding strap for the trailer wiring, and of course it's loose as hell, which isn't going to ground very good. So the only way I figure I'm going to get this done right is to zip cut this off of here and then use a bolt and tighten it in there. So fun. And there you go. Pounded that out of there, so now I'll put a bolt in and tighten it up so at least it's got a good ground. I'm pretty sure that this is the signal wiring, so that's probably why I was getting intermittent signals, because it was loose there. So we'll fix that up and keep moving forward. This one here is funny too. This is auxiliary, so I don't believe I need it unless I need to do something extra, like a push button for an end up or something. See, I think you can see auxiliary. So it got ripped off up there somewhere. Oh, save the best for last with this truck, I guess, with the wiring. Okay, so now that I got a good ground, I seem to be getting power from a good hot volt when I got the flasher going. These two guys seem to be giving me 12 nice volts, so I'm guessing that's left and right. Again, nothing's identified, so we're just making this up as we go along. So I'll just show you how I'm putting these connectors on. Again, I'm not sure if it's the right way, but it's my way. A little bit of flux, a couple little ring terminals. Squeeze those guys on there. And then where are my pliers? Just give them a little pinch to hold them on before I solder them. Okay, there's one. Yeah, this wiring is a real treat, but hopefully it pays off and we get some tail lights and we can go for a ride finally. Okay, and now the last piece, I like to throw a little solder in there. So I just heat up the ring a little bit and then toss a little solder in just on the wire to hold it on there. And the flux, if you've done soldering before, you know the flux will bring it right on in to the joint. That's good. Do one more. Fun. At least it ain't raining or snowing though, I guess. And we'll get it one way or another. So there we go. Ow! Solder's hot. Alright, so the continuation on this episode, I got some new headlight brackets finally. I went with the J's. I think they're going to look pretty sweet. I got to drill new holes on the side of the outer grill in order to get them mounted. They sit a little higher than the original ones. And the weather's just been awful. Pretty much rained the whole summer. So I'm going to actually just pull the truck forward into the garage here, at least the front part of it, and then I can try and stay dry while I get those mounted. There we go. That's going to be a little nicer to work. Okay, so time to get the headlights mounted. So these new J brackets obviously bend down. The original ones would actually go up and then straight out, so your headlight would mount the boat out like that using these holes. But since the J's bend down, if you use those holes, you'd be down something like that, which obviously wouldn't work. So I'm hoping to utilize at least these guys here, and maybe that would be about that height. And I think that should look pretty decent. And then I only have to drill 2 new holes in the grill here. Maybe just get some carriage bolts to fill those in. So that should look good. Let's get that done. Okay, I got it mounted on there with 2 bolts anyway. We'll see how it looks. Yeah, it's looking pretty sharp. This up, something like that. Nice. There you go. One headlight mounted. I think it looks pretty sharp. And it sure shows that this guy needs a polish. Either that or I gotta scuff the J up. But yeah, we'll get the old grill polished up to match the duck and the J's. But There we go, I like that. And I'm really digging working on a nice solid floor. Now I see how all those lucky guys with shops, how nice they have it after working on this thing for 2 years in the mud and the gravel and the snow. Fun. Well, there you go. Cross something else off the list. That looks pretty sharp. I'm pleased with the way that turned out. So, on to the next thing, I guess. Okay, so just working through taking out all the old wires that aren't needed anymore. Obviously, we just need the 3 red, white, and black for the 2 headlights. So I'm going to take all this out of here, or delete it, get that hooked up, and then, you know, a lot of people are probably wondering, you know, what are you doing with this whole motor area? It looks pretty ugly at this point, and it's true. You know, I got the back of the frame all painted nice, but at this point, I'm just trying to get the thing on the road. I've been working on this thing for almost 2 years now, and kind of set a little mini goal for myself to take my daughters to school before the snow flies this year. So I just, at this point, want to get it so I can run it down the road. There is a little bit of a concern with this motor. I mean, it starts obviously really well. You've seen that in earlier videos. This compressor rattles like ball bearings rolling around in there, but she does clean herself up, so I think there's a lot of slop in there, so I may need another compressor. An exchange, it's about, I don't know, $1,000, but it can, at least I can get that. My bigger worry though is the motor. When I start it up and run it, I'm getting a lot of white smoke that doesn't really go away. Now of course I haven't ran it down the road and got her up to temperature. It's not going to warm up just sitting in the driveway. And from what I'm reading in the manual, white smoke can be one of 2 things: too much fuel or coolant. So I did the water bottle test, where you put a water bottle on here and see if you get any bubbles. So basically, is the head gasket gone and shoving air into the radiator and pressurizing the radiator? So I didn't see any bubbles, so I think we're good there. Plus, from what I'm reading, white smoke that comes from coolant is kind of, it's got a sweet smell, and it's more of a mist, whereas smoke will hang. So you kind of get white smoke in the trees there that hang. So I'm guessing it's too much fuel. So it might be a bad injector, worn out injector. So it could be the valves not set correctly. But at this point, I want to just get her together and run her down the road. Let's get her up to temperature and see and kind of see what happens. But eventually, I will hopefully not have to redo the motor. Just kind of refresh the outside here, paint it up. Obviously, paint the firewall, the frame, this lower front end. But that's you know, future episodes. So right now, let's just get it running, get some headlights, get some taillights, and send her down the road. Well, look at that. Now I know where all my tranny fluid is going from my power steering reservoir. It's leaking out of that box there, so gonna have to add that to the list, figure out why that thing is leaking so much, because that is a lot in a relatively short time. So I'm just taking off this junction box. I'm going to replace it. I did try the 3 posts there, and it lights this thing up bright as day, so obviously it should light up the headlights. So that's working. So I'll swap this out and then start running wires to the headlights. Okay, new JB in. I just ran some temp wires, and I got them just temporarily put up there. So I'll just set this up and go and flick the light in the cab and see if it works. All right. That's a good sign. Ha! 1 down, 3 to go. Okay, wired up. Let's go see if we got lights. Well, that's a good sign. Probably need to do some alignment. And working on electrical just eats away at the day. Well, there we go. 1 step closer. All right, I think I'm gonna call it. I've been fighting with these lights all day, so I've had to ring each of them out to the signal stat one by one. I noticed some were wrong. Finally got it the way it should have been wired, and I still can't, I can get right signal to work, stoplights, taillights, but I can't seem to get the left going. So something's still not quite there. I'll keep picking away at it. But, you know, I did some other stuff inside. I got the tack working. The fellows at Traction hooked me up with the new tack cable. Make sure it's in neutral. There you go. You'll notice I had to revert to the old style tack that was in this truck when I first bought it. The tack that I bought off that guy on Instagram there, for whatever reason, it was just flickering and it was reading up around 2000. So I don't know if it's old or sticking, or maybe I can fix it. But I put the old one in and it works for now. So at least I got a tack. And what else did I do? I connected up the air line for the seat. So now I can raise and lower it. So that's something. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to call today a win. Getting those headlights mounted on there, and you know, that's something. I can't seem to get high beams going, so there's another thing to add to the list. But you know, I'm getting there. I'm getting closer to getting her to be legal and roll on down the road. So watch for that in a future episode, little by little.